Okay, today we're going to do the bread recipe, and right now we have half a teaspoon of active dry yeast. We're going to use a tablespoon of brown sugar. I prefer to stay away from white sugar because white sugar has been bleached, and I don't believe light brown sugar has been. We have brown sugar and then 1 cup of warm water. Okay, 1 cup of warm water. Then we need to stir. And we need to let the dry yeast absorb some moisture, because right now it's still dry and it's clumping. So in a couple of minutes, those clumps will break down. For the first time in the recipe, we're going to be using some Quaker oats added to the recipe. This will hopefully make it a little more moist than it has been. And we're going to use a ¼ cup in a separate bowl. And I believe if we use ½ cup of water. Okay, the oats are in the microwave. The clumps of dry yeast have broken down and have now solidified. So we need to let this sit a little bit and let the yeast culture and multiply. Okay, we microwave the 1/4 cup of dry oats with 1/2 cup of water. And it looks like it's the right consistency. Microwaved it for a minute to a minute and 15 seconds, depending on your microwave. I don't want to add the hot ingredient to the yeast mix, so we're going to let this cool down. In fact, if we put this into another bowl, it will cool down more rapidly. Get it out of the hot bowl. Spread it out so it makes contact with more of the room temperature bowl. Okay, now that the oats are cooling, we're going to add an egg to the liquid mixture, and this will allow you to get a better rise out of your dough, the egg. Okay, the oats feel as if they're cool enough to add to the mixture. The flour that we're using for this recipe is all-purpose flour, and it's a mixture between 1/3 whole wheat and 2/3 unbleached white. Got a little bit of flour in there. I don't know how well this is going to mix up with the oats, being this is the first time I used oats in the recipe. So I got oats, half a cup of flour, and we're working it all in. We got a good solidification of all the ingredients. We're going to add the rest of the first cup. Let it solidify. Get a good blend of the oats with the flour. The reason why I'm using oats with the recipe is to add a conditioner to the mixture to allow it to retain more moisture. I was having problems with the flour or the bread becoming too dry after baking. Okay, so here's the other 2 cups. So a total of 3 cups of flour. Work this in. Looks like we need to add more flour, so we're going to add a little more flour. That was 1/6 of a cup of added flour. That looks pretty good. Still looks like it needs a little more flour. And that wasn't too much, but it looks like we're going to use a complete 1/3 more of flour.
So 3 1/3 cups of flour. Which looks pretty good. That's pretty good consistency for flour. It's just tacky. Okay, now it needs to rise, and I speed the rising process by using a bath of hot tap water, and it's about 120 degrees. And this will rise in about 45 minutes, half an hour. We'll have to come back and check this in probably half an hour, see how it does. Okay, it's been at least 45 minutes. The dough has more than doubled its size. So this is the point where we can make it into either pizza dough, cinnamon dough roll, or bread roll, or bread. And we're going to make garlic hoagie rolls. Okay, this is the point where you need to take it out of your bowl, and we're going to be working it into whatever shape we want this to be used for, either cinnamon rolls, breadsticks, bread, pizza dough. At this point, it's universal. So we're going to do the hoagie rolls. So we got to get it out of here. And then we got to knead the air bubbles out of it. And this is what you need to do for all purposes for your dough. Knead the air bubbles out of it. And if it's tacky, just pick up a little more flour so you can knead it. It's pretty good consistency if it's tacky. Yeast needs to have moisture for it to activate and rise. So you want your dough to be on the tacky side. Pretty good. Now we want to divide this up into 4 equal parts. We're going to make 4 hoagie rolls. So we need to get into a shape where we can get it divided equally into 4 shapes. Gonna need a little flour to handle this. Pieces. It's pretty good, looks pretty close. Add a little bit of oil to the pan. Got to shape it And when you're shaping it, make sure that you don't have any creases in it or fissures. You want to work out any folds, so there's no folds that are going to be in the dough, and then roll it around in the oil. Set it in your pan. I know your fingers are going to get a little bit of oil on when you do that, so try and rub out the oil so you don't transfer too much of it. So you get a good closure of your folds in your dough. Oil it. You're going to want 4 of these. And you can feel that you can still pop the bubbles too, still. And you're going to find that these are not going to be perfectly even in size. Some of them is going to be a little bigger, some is going to be a little smaller. The next step is to proof them. I proof them at about 115 degrees for 35 minutes. And I like to proof the smaller ones. I have a toaster oven, so I put the smaller ones on top of the toaster oven and let them proof up there, while the bigger ones proof inside the oven. And when you're proofing, you can't pause between proofing and baking. You gotta go from, actually I got too much oil on my hands. I'm starting to get fissures in this dough. You can have, I have a towel there. You can wipe your fingertips every time you do this with a towel. Just makes more laundry. You want to proof, want to go from proofing right to baking. You can't pause between proofing and baking. Okay, there we have our pans. Now we rolled it in the oil so the garlic will stick to the dough. And I do this on all 4 sides. And this is, I like this is good stuff. This is Shillings. Larry's, there's another one out there. They're all, I think, I might want to work it in a little bit before you flip it. I think they're probably all going to be about the same. The stuff with parsley in it, that's good stuff too. Yep. I didn't turn that one. I don't think, did I turn those other ones? Did I just double garlic that? I think there's garlic on that one. Just get garlic on all 4 sides. If you're like me, you can feel the texture of what doesn't have garlic and what does. Okay, now it's going to proofing. Ready to proof. And to proof at 115 for 35 minutes. And then you bake 20 minutes at 450. Okay, for proofing, I have the second pan tinted with aluminum foil. And I put this on top of the microwave, on top of the toaster oven. This is where this one's going to proof, and I have ones in the oven that are proofing now, and I have this oven modified. That's where the thermostat is set. This oven has a deflector on the top to protect it from overcooking, and I have foil and a second rack on the bottom of the pan, underneath the pan. And so proof about 115, maybe 120. You don't want to go over 120 for 35 minutes, and then bake it at 450 for 20 minutes. And no pause between proofing and baking. And this pan will sit up here even through the baking process of these down here. And they go right into the oven, probably 15 minutes at 450 for the second rack. Okay, let's see what we have here. There it is. Our garlic hoagie rolls. You are going to want to have some toasting on it, some browning. Look pretty good. It would brown more even if I rotated them halfway through the baking process. Haven't done that yet, but I might do that someday. We'll just have to wait and see if I ever do that. There it is. Garlic hoagie rolls. Garlic hoagie rolls. Okay, final results is bread, and I've already sliced this one, and it is moisture, has more moisture in it with the oats, the cooked oats. It's delicious.